Welcome to this explainer. Right now, literally as we speak, somewhere on this planet, a game is being played. 22 people on a field, all chasing the exact same ball. And let's be honest, if you don't know what you're looking at, it looks like pure chaos, right? Just people running around. But what if I told you that beneath that illusion of chaos is a highly structured, almost mathematical, geometric reality? Okay, let's dive into this. Because what you're actually watching on that pitch is one of the most intricate systems of human coordination ever designed. Every single player out there is operating inside this invisible architecture that took, well, over 150 years to build. They each have a specific role, a highly specific zone, and a job to do. Here is today's blueprint. We're going to go layer by layer, from the bottom up, through the pitch, starting with the invisible architecture, rethinking the defense, heading inside the engine room, exploring attackers and false nines, and finally, looking at a fluid geometry. Section 1. The Invisible Architecture, Seeing the Matrix. If you've ever struggled to follow a match, let me validate that for you right now. It's not because the sport is too hard to understand. It's simply because nobody ever handed you the blueprint. With 22 players and one ball, a match really does look like a free-for-all. But the truth is, every single run a player makes, and crucially every pass they actively choose to ignore, is completely dictated by an underlying tactical system. Once you understand the rules of this system, you stop seeing random running and you literally start seeing the matrix. So at its most basic level, a team of 11 players is organized into a roadmap of 4 core layers: goalkeepers, defenders, midfielders, and forwards. Now that sounds incredibly clean and simple, doesn't it? But here's the catch. Inside those 4 simple layers, the roles fracture into dozens of highly specialized jobs. And what's fascinating is that over just the last 20 years, the modern game has radically mutated every single one of these roles into something their inventors wouldn't even recognize. Section 2. Rethinking the defense, from the goal line forward. Let's move to the back and see how this builds, starting with the only player on the entire field who is legally allowed to touch the ball with their hands: the goalkeeper. The traditional keeper your parents watched 20 years ago stayed firmly glued to their goal line. They waited, they reacted to shots. But then, a player named Manuel Neuer at Bayern Munich changed absolutely everything. He played so far off his line, he essentially became a sweeper keeper. Instead of just stopping shots, he patrolled the open space behind the defense, received passes under pressure, and started attacks. Before Neuer, goalkeepers were just the last line of defense. After him, they became the first attacker. The position was rewritten in a single generation. Now, directly in front of the keeper, we have the center backs. You might think the greatest defenders are the ones constantly making these dramatic, last-second sliding tackles. But that's actually a myth. The best center backs, like Virgil van Dijk, are brilliant because of their perfect positioning. They read the game 2, sometimes 3 passes ahead, meaning danger almost never even reaches them. They make defending look incredibly boring, and trust me, in this position, boring is the absolute highest compliment you can receive. Moving out wide to the fullbacks, your left backs and right backs, we hit a staggering number, 13. To put that into perspective, that is 13 kilometers, merely a third of a marathon, that a modern fullback might cover in a single match. 30 years ago, this was the simplest. Actually, scratch that, maybe even the most boring job on the pitch. You just stayed wide and defended your flank. Now, they defend, they attack, they cross, and they create. It went from the least technical job to one of the most physically demanding roles in all of professional sports. And this is where it gets crazy. Managers like Pep Guardiola completely reinvented this role with a concept called the inverted fullback. Instead of just running up and down the touchline, wide defenders like Philipp Lahm, João Cancelo, or Trent Alexander-Arnold drift inside into the central midfield when their team has the ball. This basically creates an extra central midfielder, offering immediate passing options and creating massive offensive overloads right in the middle of the pitch. They've turned into these incredible central weapons. Section 3. Inside the engine room, the heart of the pitch. All right, as we move up the field into the midfield, this is where the invisible architecture we've been talking about gets truly fascinating. Sitting just in front of the defense is the defensive midfielder, often called the number 6. This is perhaps the most important position on the field that casual fans completely ignore. They are the load-bearing wall of the team. Just listen to this famous scouting quote about Barcelona's Sergio Busquets. You watch the game, you don't see Busquets. You watch Busquets, you see the whole game. They're invisible to the casual viewer, but foundational to everything the team does. If they have a bad day, the whole system collapses. And this brilliantly illustrates the contrast. You've got the holding number 6, but right above them is the number 8, the box-to-box midfielder.
These are the dynamic engines of the team. Think of a player like Kevin De Bruyne. He's connecting the defense to the attack, spraying 60-yard passes, and arriving late in the penalty area to score. It's the exact same general layer of the pitch, but an entirely different, highly dynamic interpretation of the space.
Which leads us to a bit of a mystery. Just behind the forwards, there used to live the most glamorous player on the pitch, the number 10, the pure playmaker, the artist operating in that little pocket of space called the hole. We're talking about legends like Maradona or Zidane who turned that space into pure art. So we really have to ask, where did the classic number 10 go? Well, the uncomfortable truth is that aggressive modern pressing has essentially killed the pure luxury playmaker. In today's game, defensive systems compress space so aggressively that teams simply cannot afford a player who only creates and doesn't work hard when they don't have the ball. The pure artist waiting for inspiration, they're nearly extinct. Today, modern players wearing that number 10 shirt, like Jude Bellingham, are forced to be both elite creators and relentless workhorses at the exact same time.
Section 4. Attackers and false nines. Weaponizing space.
So we've reached the final top layer of our blueprint. These are the players with the most straightforward, yet totally unforgiving job in the sport. They have to score goals. Out on the flanks, we see another massive tactical shift. A traditional winger used to hug the touchline on their natural side. Right foot on the right, left foot on the left, running down the line to deliver crosses. But the modern game flipped this script entirely. Enter the inverted winger. Elite players like Mohamed Salah, Arjen Robben, or Lionel Messi started playing on their opposite flank. A left-footed player on the right side cuts inside onto their stronger foot to shoot directly at the goal. They basically hijacked the goal-scoring duties that used to belong exclusively to central strikers. But speaking of central strikers, the pure number 9 is still devastatingly effective. Consider this staggering number. 600. A pure number 9 like Robert Lewandowski scored over 600 career goals by mastering a space no bigger than your living room. It's a game of lethal efficiency. The best strikers, like Lewandowski or Erling Haaland, can disappear for 89 minutes, touch the ball just once, and win the match. They don't need 10 chances, They just need one. And then there's the role that broke the entire system, the false 9. This is a striker who isn't really a striker at all. Instead of staying high and central where a number 9 is traditionally supposed to live, they drop deep into the midfield. It's a tactical philosophy that literally broke the modern defensive map, proving this incredible concept. Sometimes where you aren't is significantly more dangerous than where you are. Let's walk through how this trap actually works. Step 1. The striker drops deep into the midfield to offer a passing option. Step 2. The opposing center backs, whose entire job is to mark that striker, are instinctively dragged forward out of their line. Step 3. A massive, undefended gap suddenly opens up behind them. Pep Guardiola famously weaponized this trap with Lionel Messi against Real Madrid in 2009. Barcelona won 6-2 because the defending team simply had no idea who to mark. The space where the striker was supposed to be was empty, and the defense completely collapsed.
Section 5. A fluid geometry beyond the numbers.
Okay, let's zoom back out now. Time to tie all these individual layers of our blueprint together into the big picture. What you see on your television screen before kickoff, the 4-4-2 or the 4-3-3 formations, those are really just starting points. The ultimate reality is that these numbers are a language, not a cage. They describe where players begin, not where they end up. The second the referee's whistle blows, the system becomes completely fluid. Fullbacks become midfielders, midfielders become wingers, and strikers drop so deep they practically act like defenders. It is a beautifully fluid, constantly shifting geometry. So the next time you look at a pitch, you'll know that you were always watching the exact same game. You just didn't have the blueprint. But now you do. You have the key to see through the chaos. You can finally appreciate the invisible architecture, that perfectly structured geometric system underlying every single pass, run, and tactical decision on the field. Which leaves us with one final, pretty provocative question to ponder. Will this tactical blueprint continue to dramatically mutate and evolve over the next 20 years? Or have we finally reached the ultimate, perfect geometry of the sport? Keep that question in mind the next time you sit down to watch a match. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and I hope you enjoy the beautiful game with your brand new perspective.